my dear friend. Today, I will tell you a story from 38 years ago. A story about a woman who was loved by millions and yet was searching for true love in her own life. Her name was Princess Diana. In the summer of 1997, Diana met a man named Dodi Fayed. He was the son of a wealthy businessman from Egypt. Their meeting was like a spark of light in the middle of darkness. Diana, who had lived under pressure and sadness for years, suddenly found comfort and peace in his presence. Together they loved, they traveled, and for a short time, they dreamed of a future away from the eyes of the world. But destiny had other plans. What began as a beautiful love story would soon become one of the most tragic moments in modern history. This is the story of Princess Diana and Dodi Fayed. A story of hope, love, and heartbreak that the world will never forget. My dear friend, let us begin the first part of this unforgettable story. Before we talk about their meeting, we need to understand the world in which this story was born. The young woman at the center of this tale was known and admired by millions. She lived in a grand palace, surrounded by cameras and endless attention. To the outside world, she looked happy, graceful, and perfect. But inside her heart, she was lonely and always searching for real love. Her life was filled with duty, pressure, and endless judgment. Every smile she gave in public was often hiding her pain. On the other side of the story was a man who came from a very different world. He was the son of a rich businessman, born in another land, raised between cultures. He enjoyed a life of freedom, travel, and wealth. But despite his riches, he too was searching for something deeper, something real. Their worlds were different, but destiny was slowly pulling them together. In the summer of 1997, the woman decided to take a break from her stressful life. She traveled with her children, enjoying the sunshine, the sea, and a little peace away from the noise of the world. She wanted to feel normal again, to laugh, to breathe without judgment. It was during this time that she was introduced to the man. Their first meeting was not grand or public. It was private, simple, almost ordinary. But sometimes, the most ordinary moments are the ones that change our lives forever. When their eyes met for the first time, something shifted. She felt a spark of light in the middle of her darkness, and he saw in her not the famous figure the world adored, but a woman who needed care, love, and understanding. From that moment, they began to spend time together. At first it was quiet and private, but soon their laughter filled the air. They traveled on boats, walked under the sun, and shared conversations that no one else could hear. For the first time in years, she felt at peace, and he felt complete. But as their story was beginning, the world outside was watching closely. Cameras followed them, newspapers printed headlines, and whispers filled the air. Some celebrated their happiness, while others criticized it. But in those moments together, they did not care. This was the beginning of something beautiful, a chance for two people from different worlds to finally find the love they had been waiting for. After their first meeting, the summer of 1997 became a season of joy for them both. The woman, who had once felt trapped inside walls of duty and expectations, now found herself smiling in ways she had not done for years. The man, who had always been surrounded by luxury, now discovered the luxury of something much more rare, true companionship. They began to spend their days sailing on the blue waters of the Mediterranean. The sea was calm, the skies were clear, and for the first time in years, she felt free. Away from the cameras and the endless questions, she could laugh without fear. On the deck of the yacht, the sound of the waves replaced the sound of flashing cameras. She watched her children laugh, and play in the water while he stood beside her, offering quiet support. He admired her strength as a mother, and she admired his ability to listen and simply be present. These were not the grand royal events she was used to. These were ordinary moments, meals together, walks on the shore, conversations under the stars. But sometimes it is the ordinary that gives us the deepest happiness. The newspapers, however, did not stop. Every morning, new headlines screamed about their time together, pictures of them on the yacht, holding hands, or simply standing next to each other were printed across the world. For some, it was a story of romance. For others, it was scandal. She had lived under the gaze of the media all her life, but now, every step she took with him was followed more closely than ever. Yet she did not allow this to steal her moments of peace. She chose to keep living, to enjoy the laughter, the sunlight, and the company of someone who truly cared for her. The man too knew what it meant to live under the eyes of others. His family name was powerful, his father was known everywhere, but he himself had always remained in the shadows. Now, suddenly, the world was writing about him as well. But instead of fear, he felt pride that he could stand beside a woman so admired, so loved. As the summer continued, their bond grew stronger. They dreamed about the future. She imagined a life free of restrictions, a life where she could choose her own path, her own happiness. And he dreamed of being the one to protect her, to give her the freedom she longed for. It was a fragile dream, but it was beautiful. For a few shining weeks, they were simply two people in love, forgetting the weight of their worlds and holding on to a hope that perhaps destiny would finally be kind to them. The summer that had begun with joy soon started to change. The attention of the media grew stronger with every passing day. Cameras followed them wherever they went. The woman had faced this all her life, but now the pressure was greater than ever. Every time they walked together, photographs were taken. Every smile, every glance, every private moment was turned into a headline. The newspapers no longer just reported about their happiness, they created stories, rumors, and doubts. What was once a simple love story began to feel like a battlefield between their hearts and the outside world. For the woman, the weight was familiar. She had carried it for years. The judgment, the whispers, the endless questions about her choices. But now, it was not only about her, it was about him as well, and she feared how much the world's eyes could hurt him. The man, however, did not step back. He stood firm beside her. He was not afraid of the cameras. He wanted her to know that he could face the storm with her. Together, they smiled for the world, but in private, they spoke of their fears. At night, they would sit in quiet corners, talking about freedom. She dreamed of living away from the spotlight, raising her children in peace. He dreamed of building a new life with her, somewhere the cameras could not find them. But the media did not stop. Their movements were tracked, their photos sold for millions, their privacy stolen again and again. Even their love was questioned. Was it real? Or was it a show? These questions did not come from them, but from those who could never understand. Still, they held on to each other. For in those moments, when the cameras clicked and the world shouted, they found comfort in silence, in whispers, and in the simple fact that they were together. It was a battle between love and fame. And though they were strong, the shadow of the outside world never left them. As the summer of happiness slowly came to an end, the couple prepared for their return to the busy life of the city. They had enjoyed weeks of peace, laughter, and dreams, but deep inside, both of them knew that the outside world was waiting for them, louder and stronger than ever. In late August, they traveled to Paris. The city of lights, famous for love and beauty, was now the stage for the final chapter of their story. They stayed in a grand hotel, hoping for quiet moments together. But the press had already discovered their location. Cameras flashed outside every time they stepped out. Reporters followed every car, every movement, every detail. Despite the noise, they tried to hold on to their joy. They shared dinners together, spoke of their hopes, and dreamed of what life might look like in the future. For her, it was a chance to imagine freedom. For him, it was a chance to prove his love. But the shadows of fame did not leave them. Each day, the crowd grew bigger, the pressure stronger. The woman felt uneasy. She had faced the media all her life, but this time it was different. She was no longer alone. She worried for him, for her children, and for the fragile hope they had built together. On the evening of August 30th, they decided to leave the hotel quietly. They entered a car, hoping to escape the flashes and noise. The streets of Paris were alive with lights and movement, but behind them, the press followed, chasing every turn, every moment. Inside the car, the atmosphere was heavy. She sat close to him, tired of the endless attention, longing for a moment of peace. He held her hand, trying to reassure her. The driver pushed forward, trying to lose the photographers. The sound of engines, horns, and shouts filled the night. The city of love had turned into a maze of pursuit. And as the car entered a tunnel, destiny began to write the darkest line of their story. As the clock moved past midnight, the couple left the hotel, unaware of the fate that awaited them. Their car entered the dark Paris tunnel, followed by flashing lights and speeding motorcycles. The driver tried to escape the crowd, but destiny was closing in. In just a few moments, the sound of tires screeching, a sudden crash, and then silence. The world changed forever that night. News spread like wildfire. Millions woke up to shock and disbelief. A woman who was loved by people across the globe and a man who had just entered her life with hope were suddenly gone. Crowds gathered with tears, holding flowers, lighting candles, and whispering prayers. The streets filled with sorrow, and the world stood still. What was once a story of love became a tragedy that would echo for generations. And even today, people still remember that night, not just for the loss, but for the reminder of how fragile life can be. The tragedy of that night left the world in shock. People could not believe that such a bright soul was gone. Yet, even after the passing of time, the memory of the woman and the man she loved has never faded. Her life was filled with challenges, but it was also filled with courage, kindness, and compassion. She showed the world that even in the face of sadness, a person can bring light into the lives of others. He, too, was remembered as the man who gave her comfort in her final days, a companion who stood by her when she was seeking peace. Their story did not end with their lives. Instead, it became a symbol of love that cannot be measured, and of destiny that no one can escape. Around the world, people still speak of their time together. They still wonder what might have been, had fate been kinder. Today, their story lives on in books, in films, in memories, and in the hearts of millions. It is a reminder that life is fragile, that love is powerful, and that sometimes the brightest flames burn for only a short time. This was the story of a woman who was loved by millions, and of the man who shared her final chapter. A story of hope, of love, and of heartbreak that the world will never forget. My dear friend, this was one of the unforgettable stories from the old times. A story of love, hope, and heartbreak that still lives in our hearts. If you wish to hear more stories from the past, filled with secrets, memories, and lessons, then join me again. Subscribe now, so you never miss the next journey into real stories of old times.